Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and for today's video we are having another sewing tutorial. For sewing tutorial today I'm choosing the doll bedding, and it's a really easy style to make. I think it's really amazing to have different bedding for any occasions in your dollhouse. For today's video we are doing the tutorial using a sewing machine, but if you want me to show you how to do the no-sew tutorial using only the thread and the needle, let me know in the comments down below. And let's start on the tutorial. So what you guys are going to need for this tutorial is you're going to need the pins, the rotary tool or the scissors to cut the fabric. You're gonna need any tool to mark the measurements. We're gonna be using the filler. Today I'm using regular poly, but you can use any filler you have. Obviously we're gonna use the ruler, we're gonna need the fabric. I'm using the cotton knit, and I'll show you what I'm using this cotton knit fabric for. And it's really easy to make this doll bedding. You choose whichever style you want to. For example, for this bedding we have the blanket and we have 5 pillows, but you can make any size of pillows. You can make a lot of different pillows. I personally love the pillows. I could have a bunch of pillows on my own bed, and that's why I love to make the pillows for the doll bedding as well. So now let's start on the tutorial. So the first piece that we are going to be cutting out is the flat sheet itself, and I like to use the flat sheet because you can tuck it under any mattress you have, and because all the doll beds they have different mattresses, so that's why I do like to make the flat sheets. And the size that I like to make is 24 inches by 24, which gives it enough room to tuck it under, rather the bed is narrower or larger. So let's cut this out. I'm gonna be using the rotary tool instead of the scissors. I prefer to cut straight lines with the rotary tool, and I'm gonna be using this ruler. So now let's cut out 24 by 24. So the next piece I'm going to be cutting out is the blanket itself, and there is one little thing that I like to do with my bedding is that between 2 pieces of fabrics, which I'm choosing to be top or bottom, I also like to insert any cotton knits in it, or any thin towel that you might have, older towel, or any maybe older t-shirt that you have, something that will give it a soft look to the bedding rather than having just 2 fabrics itself. So the size that I like to do for my bedding, for my doll bedding, is 20 inches by 20 inches. Again, all the beds are different, the length and the width. I like to make my blankets a little bit larger, so again, I can tuck them in rather than not having enough. So let's cut 20 inches by 20 inches, all 3 pieces. Again, this is going to be the fabric for the blanket itself, and this is going to be the insert fabric for the blanket. If you may have noticed, out of these 2 fabrics, I've cut out 2 pieces of each. The reason I did that is one is going to be for the blanket itself, but the second one I'm going to be using to cut out the pillows. So now let's cut out the pillows. So what I like to do for the pillows is I layer 2 fabrics together because pieces are small and you don't want to shift them too much. So I lay 2 fabrics together, and now I'm going to be cutting out them together. In this case, I'm going to be cutting 2 pillows where each pillow is going to be reversible. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm gonna do the flat sheet. I'm going to zigzag all the edges around so they're all serged and they're not fraying. If you don't have a serger, again, you can use regular zigzag on your sewing machine. And then we're going to fold the bottoms. So now I'm gonna fold the bottom, and don't forget to do the back stitch. I always love doing it to secure it so everything stays in place for a long time. Also, what I would like to mention is that if you're not sure that you can fold the edge without the pins, you can always use the pins to secure the stitch. To secure the edge, and then just make sure to pull out your pin out of the fabric when you're done. I don't use the pins anymore. I just do it according to the width of the foot and the measurement on the machine. So now let's trim off all of the excess on the ends of our bedsheet itself, and at this point you can simply iron it to make it all nicely neat, but if not, you are done with your flat sheet. So the next step we're going to be doing is the blanket itself, and I'm going to show you how I put the cotton knit fabric inside of the blanket. So we're going to lay one side face up, then we're going to lay another side face down. Make sure your edges are even, and in this step I will be using the pins because you have to secure 3 fabrics instead of just folding. And now let's use any of your cotton knit, or as I've mentioned, you can use anything else, but it cannot be too thick because then the blanket will be too thick, obviously. So now let's pin this up. So now let's flip this upside down, and I'm going to pin all of these pieces from the cotton side up rather than the cut knit, because at the bottom the knits fabrics usually stretch more than the cottons. That's why I'm going to be sewing from this side rather than the other one. And I'm going to secure just with few pins so everything stays in place. With the fabrics where the print has the top and the bottom, I prefer to leave my closure on the bottom of the blanket. So over here, I'm going just to make a few notches where I'm going to leave an opening. For the blanket where we're making 20 by 20, I'm gonna be leaving approximately 5 inches. So it will be easier for us to flip it inside out. And I'm just gonna make a little mark right there. So, and now let's sew. The seam allowance I'm gonna be leaving here is about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Just depends on your preference. It's up to you, but those measurements would be totally fine. So at this point, since you may have seen that these two different fabrics are two different textures and they can move a little bit around, that's why use the pins to hold the fabrics together, slightly hold the fabrics while sewing, and that's why I'm using the seam allowance 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, just to give it a room a little bit for these two fabrics to get secured together. So now I'm gonna make sure that this line is the same as with this one. If there is a huge big of a difference, for example, if it was like this, just put a straight another line from here over to there and then just cut the excess off. But we are ready to flip it inside out. When you're flipping inside out, always start with bottom corners rather than the top ones. When flipping the corners, you can always use any of your tool that you may be flipping out. I simply am using just my fingers because this is a blanket and I don't really need the precise corner, but when I do the precise corners, I fold the corners from the inside so it's easier and the corner looks sharp. But this is great for the blanket. To close the bottom of the blanket, there are several options you can do. You can use needle and thread and just close it by hand. You can also use hidden press tape, I believe it's called. It's from Joann's, and then you put it just from the inside and you press it with your iron. Or you can use the sew machine to close it, but you're going to have a little tiny thread seam through over here, which we're gonna do this on the machine, and I'm gonna show you how I close it with the machine itself. So the first thing you'll do is you just slightly press with your fingers. This is cotton and you're going to press it, and this is the closure, and I'm going to pin. At this point I will be pinning this from here so not everything stays in place. Just remember where the opening starts and take a little bit 1/2 inch away from the opening, not right next to it, and don't forget to backstitch. The seam allowance I'm using over here is no more than 1/4 of an inch. I prefer actually to do maybe even 1/8 of an inch. It just depends again on the machine you have, what it can do. But try to do the seam as close as possible to the edge, and don't forget to watch both edges so they stay together. So now let's cut off the excess, and you're done with your fluffy blanket. So now let's move on to the pillows, and we're almost done and I'm excited. So what I'm gonna do for the pillows is, for this particular bedding, I'm going to do 2 pillows in one color from the bedsheet itself. Then I'm going to do 2 pillows which will be front and back, which are reversible. Then what I made is I'm going to be making 2 pillows where they're identical front and back, and another one would be like that. So it's fun to play around with the pillows. And also I'm making 2 of exactly the same pillows front and back, but they are larger than the other ones, so we can make the bed nice and cozy. To sew your pillow, it's pretty much the same process as you did your blanket. You're going to take one fabric front face up, and you're going to put another one but face down. You can always mark the edges for the opening. You can always use the pins just to secure, and as again, don't forget to backstitch. So here's how you guys saw me doing 2 pillows, one with the pins and another one is without. So it's either way it works. I'm going to make the rest pillows, and I'll see you in the next step. So now what we're going to do is cut off all the excess on all of the pillows that you may have. And now we're going to flip it inside out the same way we did with the blanket. Again, I prefer to start with the bottom corners. And now it's time to put the filler inside the pillow. When putting the filler inside the pillow, the one thing I prefer to make sure to do is to put the filler in the corners, but then not to overfill them throughout the whole pillow. So they hold the shape nicely, but they still soft and cozy. So this is approximately the way I like to stuff my pillows. Again, it's not too much and it's not too little. To close this pillow, I prefer 2 ways. Either you can close it by hand with the needle or thread, or we're going to be using a machine to close it the same way we close the blanket. Now let's cut off all the excess of the pillow. I'm gonna come back after I'm done with all the other pillows, and we're going to set up the bed. So here we are at the very exciting part, is where we're gonna make the bed, and I absolutely love the way it turned out. From the print that you see, you probably may have guessed already who this bed is for. It's farm themed bed, so stay tuned for what I'm gonna be using this pillows and the blankets for. I have another video that I'm gonna be using the set. Also, I'm gonna be using these 2 pillows which I previously made from one of my other doll bedding, and they give such a cute and fluffy look to the bedding. So now let's set the bedding up. So this is why I like to keep the flat sheet in a flat style. and larger than the mattress itself. I like to tuck everything under because I feel like it gives more of a realistic look to human bedding. And also, if you have a larger mattress, it will fit there as well. So now let's put the blanket over. Just make sure where the top and the bottom is. So now the blanket is nice and neat, and let's set up the pillows. So we only have one pillow left, but I'm not upset at all. We're gonna use this for something else later on, but this is how the bed turned out. I absolutely love it. It's cute and adorable. It's totally exactly what I was going for, and I'm excited to use it for my upcoming video. Let me guys know if you like this video or not. What's your favorite pillow, or if there are any other bedding that you'd want me to show how to make. Actually, if you do want me to make this bedding without the sewing machine, let me know in the comments below and I'll show it to you how to do it, either sewing by hand or without even sewing at all. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!